Hey, Tim Sykes here with a little fun video lesson. I'm thinking about buying this Lamborghini Huracan, and right now I've got about 80 likes and 30 or 79 likes and 29 retweets. And if I get 290 plus retweets and favorites on this, I'm going to buy this 2016 Lamborghini Huracan because, frankly, I deserve it. I've worked my butt off, and my students are coming off a record week. I'll go into a more detailed video lesson tomorrow, but just got to give props to some students like Brooks. Um, you know, Freaking awesome. I think his name is Breezy something in the chat room. But he nailed IDXG overnight, and he put in roughly $5,000. The next day, 25,000. So I know some people say, "Oh, you can't grow your money literally overnight." Well, guess what? He just did. And this is the beauty of penny stocks. It's not just him. Here's my student CT. He made $5,100, biggest profit to date, and he used stocks to trade. So whether you're using stocks to trade, my software, or my chat room, either way, you're going to find this hot stock like IDXG. And I actually underestimated it. I did not think that it was going to go much above $1. So props to you guys, especially because, frankly, I'm not always going to be right. Sometimes I'm going to be wrong about a stock. I didn't short it. I actually didn't think that, it was going to be worth the stress. And I'm glad because it would have been damn stressful if I had shorted it. But you guys nailed it. And so many of you are learning to trade on your own. That's the beauty of this, okay? I don't want to just be like this guy where you're like, oh, look at this hot pick. Look at this hot pick. There's an ugly bald man on TV that does that. And guess what? He's right about 30 to 35% of the time. And his TV network ratings are at multi-decade lows. My ratings, even though I'm not on TV that often, aside from some crappy reality shows, my ratings online are at all-time highs. My students are making more and more money. I have more and more millionaire students than anybody else, and I have upcoming millionaire students. Here's Mithiel. I love this. Don't feel like also that you have to make thousands of dollars on a trade. I know a lot of you guys like look at who I talk about and you say, "Oh, I should be doing this." I show you these trades to show you that there are many different students using many different angles, many different profit targets, many different account sizes. So don't feel like you have to be like Brooks and, put in $5,000 into a stock. This is risky, okay? This is a damn risky trade. I'm glad it worked out for him. And he took the meat of the move. I think it went up to nearly $2 a share. So he could have made a little bit more. But when you make, 5 times your money overnight, understand that that's risky. And if it had been me going overnight or even buying this stock at 33 cents, first of all, I would have sold it at like 66 cents or 80 cents. You won't see me make 2, 3, 4, 500%. So I show you this with the understanding, hopefully, that you get that this is risky and that personally, I don't like being this risky. But there's not one right way to trade these stocks. And as you can see, sometimes if you hold them overnight, and I'm not sure about Brooks, he mentions the PDT rule. He might have had to hold overnight just because of the number of trades that he's allowed to do. So don't even think that he's necessarily being risky. Sometimes if you don't have that many day trades left, you have to hold overnight. So he got a little lucky. And sometimes the PDT rule can help you be a little more aggressive. The PDT rule is not a bad thing as like most people think. And I used to hate on it, but now after seeing tens of thousands of traders and the mistakes they make, it's really not a bad thing. It protects you from yourselves. A lot of you guys overtrade. You see all these hot plays. There's way too many potential trades. The PDT rule limits you to 3 day trades per 5 rolling day period. So basically 3 trades per week. But if you hold an overnight play, right, it does not count. So the PDT rule protects you against intraday trades. But overnight, if you hold it like Brooks did, this does not count as a day trade. You can do an overnight trade every single day. And while I don't encourage that because sometimes it's really good just to lock in profits, sometimes it really works out on these hot plays like IDXG and earlier in the week NVCN. So just understand that there are different angles and that you don't have to be exactly like each other. I'm just trying to show you and help you understand the many different faces who are trading these penny stocks. Okay? And this is one face with his crazy little Snapchat spectacles. or Snapchat filter. Snapchat spectacles are a new hardware device. Maybe Brooks can now buy it with his new money. But don't feel bad if you're like Mateel and you have a small position, a $940 position, and you make 680 bucks. Okay? He bought it at 94 cents into the close, which was risky, as I warned. And guess what? He sold it in the 160s and 170s the next day. He's also using market orders, which I would not use. Please use limit orders, okay? Market orders are just so risky. You might get screwed on an execution. Most of the time you'll be fine, but it's just not worth it, okay? It's better to use limit, and if the stock goes past your limit, that's fine. Just accept it. You don't need to chase, and you don't need a market order. You don't need to trade that badly. But props to Mateel, on a $940 position. A lot of you guys have a few $100s, a few $1,000s to your name. Guess what? When you trade these crazy kinds of supernovas, you can make this kind of money. But also understand, if you don't have the proper mindset, if you haven't studied, if you're not really understanding how to manage your risk and limit your risk and cut losses quickly, you can lose your few $100s too. So this game is risky if you don't follow the rules. That's why I'm so crazy about promoting my rules, promoting my DVDs and video lessons, because I teach you. So here's another student also. Got to give props to Oren, and you can see here, he's just buying 500 shares. He's putting in 400 bucks, but he actually sold right at the top. Awesome job, and he came out with 988 bucks. So people can hate on me. People can hate on penny stocks. All I see is trade after trade, student after student, learning how to use the volatility. And some people sell too soon. Some people are just paper trading. Don't even feel like you have to put real money into this. But you need to learn. You need to witness these plays so that you can be ready for the next one. This play doesn't matter anymore, okay? IDXG, it's a potential short now. It's done as good as it can do. Now you have to use this one, and hopefully you saw it real time. And if you didn't, then you need to be ready and see the next one. Get in my chat room. Use stocks to trade. The more you witness, the better. I can help teach you the past. I can show you example after example, student after student from the past, but that's only part of your education. You need to witness these live, even if you're not trading yet, because just understanding how quickly this stuff moves. It's one thing for me to show screenshots of students of trades after the fact, but it's a whole nother thing to witness it live. And, this past week I was actually teaching a few students in person, which was another, level up on their education. And I love teaching students in person. This is why I have such like a little voice right now, because I talk literally for 8 hours straight. But if you want to learn in person, send an email, admin@timothysykes.com, and say, I want to learn in person, and we'll get you in there. There's so many different ways to learn and so many different account sizes, but you have to start learning. The sooner the better. If you're under 18, I'm sorry, you need parental permission before you can start. But if you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, start learning today. The sooner you start witnessing this and understanding the patterns, that's the better you're going to do, because this takes time. You're not going to understand everything in week 1, week 2, week 3, even week 4, even week 5. Most of the people that I see, it starts clicking for them in like month 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you have the, education and knowledge for the rest of your life. One more student I got to give props to. Here's Orlando. He had an account of $500, okay? And now he's made $600 in 2 days, and he's showing the screenshots here. And that's awesome, okay? So you guys with a few $100s, a few $1,000s, this is the game. And I want you guys to get inspired. Oh, one more. This guy didn't want to post publicly, but he said that it was okay if I talked about it. He said, that is okay, thank you. But he showed me this screenshot, and he's investing $893 holding overnight, and he's coming out with $1,200. So I know that the whole world hates on penny stocks, but I want you to look at this screenshot, okay? This is what is possible. And understand that it's risky. Understand that this is a supernova. But at the same time, if you catch a supernova, especially at the end of its run-up, like IDXG I think is, it can get very, very volatile very quickly. It actually went up to nearly $2, and it closed at $1.30. So you don't want to be chasing it, when it's gone up so much. But if you go in with a very specific plan, and you're buying this stock with the goal of holding overnight, you sell the next morning. If it works, that's cool. If it doesn't, you cut your losses quickly. You have to stick to the plan. I don't want you going in a crazy stock like this and seeing it go up and then it comes down and then you keep holding. You're like, well, maybe it'll come up again. No, it is one and done. And you have to be very disciplined and very meticulous. And props to this guy, Dustin, who was, and $900 into $1,200 overnight. And this has happened many times before. This is not the first. This is not the last. If you remember, if you read my book, An American Hedge Fund, Chapter 6, where I made my first $100,000 profit in one night, that was holding overnight. And I took the $100,000 profit roughly, and I was so scared. I sold it, as quickly as I could within the morning, and I didn't even have to be. Actually, there was a whole nother day of run up. So I could have made 200,000. But when you make 20, 30, 40, 50, 100%, you lock it in and you don't look back. One of my in-person coaching students this week, his name was Kenny, and he had a really knack for finding the hot stocks. He was actually in IDXG, I think around 20 or 30 cents a share. And I was teaching him how to lock in those profits because he has a knack for finding the hot stocks, but then he doesn't always take profits. And so his account balance is like a bouncing ball. He's still under the pattern day trader rule, as are most of you, under $25,000. So your goal, even though I know this might be confusing, if you're under 25,000, your goal is not to make as much money as possible in the beginning. Your goal is to grow your account gradually, making a few $100s, making a few $1,000s, but growing your account, earning the right to trade freely above 25,000. I'm not a fan of those guys, who don't like the PDT rule, and so they start with like 50 or 100,000 and they kind of like, cheat their way out of prison, right? I really respect you guys who start with 2,000, 3,000, or even 1,000, and you gradually grow your account and you kind of build your way and you build your account out of prison so that you learn how to grow your account gradually. Kenny, I think, started with like 6,000 and he went up to like 10 or 15, then he was back down to 6, then he was up to like 12, then back down to like 8. And when he came to me in-person coaching, he was at I think 8,000, and over 3 days he made 7,000. And he sold way too soon on NVCN. He sold way too soon on IDXG, and he reminded me of that. And he's like, "Oh, this 8,000 could have been 20,000. Now I'm only at 8,000 to 15,000." And I said, "Kenny, it doesn't fucking matter. $5,000 in the grand scheme of your life doesn't matter." And I know that's confusing, but you need to practice the good habits of taking profits. That matters much more than any 1,000 or 2,000 or any 5,000 or any one trade. In the beginning, you need to practice and learn good habits. And if you can grow your account using good habits, locking in profits, cutting losses quickly, when you are trading with a bigger account, you will still have those good habits, or you should. Some people get a bigger account and they forget those good habits and then they lose. So you can never forget your good habits about locking in profits. I don't care if you have an 800 share position or if you're like Brooks with these crazy sunglasses and you have a big ass position of 16,000 shares. You have to lock in profits. That is so important. It doesn't matter if the stock goes higher. IDXG closed I think around 130. It might spike a little more, before it's all over. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go up to 150 or 2. But most likely, either Monday or Tuesday next week, it's going to be under $1 a share. And you need to understand that there's a best case scenario. And this IDXG was best case scenario for longs. No different than NVCN. No different than HTBX. We've had a lot of good plays in just the past week. In the past literally 7 days or 8 days of trading between HTBX, NVCN, and IDXG. These are all best case scenario supernovas. And I want you guys to learn to lock in those profits and not worry if you could have done better, and not worry about what other people are doing. Use this as inspiration. So, anyways, I'll get to the stock charts tomorrow in a video lesson for subscribers only. Today is just some daily motivation, and I want you to go follow me on Twitter. Get on Twitter if you're not on Twitter. You really should use it. It's so useful for stock trading. The tickers and the other traders is great, but get on Twitter, follow me, and retweet this tweet and favorite this tweet. if I get 290 retweets and likes, I will buy this. And for every future retweet and like above 290, if it goes that high, then I'm going to have some little rewards for you. So please do me a favor, retweet this, favorite this. Let me know if you think that I should get this Lamborghini. I'm liking it, I'm digging it, but let me know what you think. Thank you and have a good weekend. You students, be ready for a detailed chart video lesson tomorrow. Today, just a little fun. And I got to give props to Brooks. He's definitely the student of the day on Friday. Congratulations on passing the PDT rule. Making 20 grand in one day really helps you understand the potential of this game. When I first had my $100,000 profit back in college in one day, I had already I'd grown my 12,000 into like 250,000. But to make 100,000 in one day, more than doctors or lawyers make in a year, and Brooks making 20,000 in a day with such a small account, it really helps you understand, sometimes if you're on the right track and you pick the right supernova, you can just nail it. And Brooks is not the only one. I mean, I should mention that this comes up a lot, or not a lot, but a few times a year. Here's my student Sid, and this was a few months ago, and I made him post this. He doesn't really want to post stuff publicly, but I was like, look, you owe it to the Profit community, which has now 110,000 traders on it. You got to see the potential with these penny stocks. There's so much negativity. There's so much bullshit. There's so much misinformation. If you are there for these, hot supernovas, PRGN was one of them. This was just a few months ago. And, he bought 700 shares. He took the mean of the move and he turned 400 into 2,300. And if I really tried, I could probably come up with like 2 or 3 dozen examples in the past year. But understand that this stuff doesn't happen every single day, but it does happen. And this is why penny stocks are great. And if anybody thinks that I'm a scam or penny stocks are a scam, then show them this video, because this will happen again and again. And the only question is, will you be prepared or not? Okay? It's not a question of if it's going to happen again. It's a question of when. And sadly, the answer for many of you is that if and when it does happen, you're not going to be prepared. You're not going to understand that this stuff can be, really crazy. I know a lot of short sellers who are too over aggressive, and they got crushed on PRGN and NVCN and IDXG. They're shorting way too soon. They're not understanding that these stocks can go supernova, no different than DRYS a few weeks ago. So lately, it's been happening more and more. Thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you for the stock market breaking out to new highs. So I have a feeling that we're not going to have to wait, another few months. We might have to just wait a few weeks or maybe even a few days until the next one of these plays. And it's exciting every time. And, again, whether you capture a huge move like this or whether you take, basically 80% profit and you make a few grand like CT did, or make a few $100s like Mitchell did, or Oren, more than doubled his account, or Orlando, who made 600 in 2 days, or, Shy Dustin, who doesn't want me posting this stuff public. Like, look at this. He says, thank you. I'm not ready to share. I am trading with the public yet. I need to prove myself that I will be a profitable trader before I'm comfortable with that. And I appreciate that, Dustin, and I respect that. I have several millionaire students who don't even like talking about the money that they made publicly, although they've thanked me, and I appreciate that too. So whether you're public about it or whether you're private about it, I would prefer full transparency, but I have to respect people who want their privacy. To be fair, some of you guys who think that I shouldn't share this, Dustin said that is okay, thank you. If Dustin really said don't post it, I wouldn't talk about it. But Dustin is down, and you really need to congratulate yourselves and celebrate each other, Send Dustin some nice messages about this great gain. This is theoretically impossible to achieve. If you believe CNBC and CNBC had their way, penny stocks would be wrong, and Bloomberg and TheStreet.com and all these big financial media companies that refuse to cover penny stocks, they think that this is fraud, manipulation, or luck, or random. And it's none of the above. It's strategy. And, it's going to happen again and again. So, anyways, that's my spiel for today. Congratulations to Dustin, to Orlando, to Oren, to Mitchell, to CT, to Sid, to I forget, the other guy's name. There's too many students. There's hundreds more. I'll congratulate you more in private, but for me right now, this is shopping Saturday. What do you think? Should I buy this Lamborghini? I'm going to be back in Miami next week. I might just get it delivered. I don't know. Retweet me, follow me on Twitter, get on Twitter, and have a good weekend.